Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together. Please guide my lips and allow me to empty myself out as best I know how and teach your word. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so share the screen. All right, we're going to be looking at today the fall. No. The rise and the fall of Saul. I didn't even try to rhyme that on purpose. It just happened, So this it covers a multitude of chapters, so I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to go through a few of them and show you what exactly he did, and what led David to becoming the king, and the events around the Saul. But first of all, God told them to not have a king at all. They said it's in 1 Samuel a little bit before this, but they said, we want to be like all the other nations. We want a king. And then Samuel, which was the prophet, God told them, no, you don't want a king. There's going to be a lot of bad things that happen if you get a king. He's going to draft your armies, or he's going to draft your children into his army, which is what he ended up doing. It said, whenever Saul saw a mighty man of valor, he took him. Right? God told Samuel that Saul would make servants out of the people, would take their land and steal taxes. Just typical king things. Samuel told him that you don't want a king, you want to serve God instead. But they said, no, we won't listen to you. We want a king. So God said, all right, fine. You want a king? I warned you. Let's see what happens. So Samuel, long story short, Saul, his donkeys go missing. So he goes to look for him. And then God leads him to meet Samuel. And this is just before this 1 Samuel 10, but Samuel comes out, he sees Saul. God told him just the day before that I'm sending you the king. So Samuel sees Saul, he took a vial of oil, poured it upon his head, and kissed him and said, is it not because the Lord hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say unto thee, the asses which thou wentest to seek are found. And lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses and sorroweth for you, saying, what shall I do for my son? So he's been gone for a while at this point, looking for them, but they were found already. But it was predestined or ordained that he would just walk into Samuel, and then he would be anointed. Then he tells him, then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, who knows? And there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread. So 3 kids are like 3 baby goats, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will salute thee and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive with their hands. After that, thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city. So the Bible, or King James, uses thither, hither, whither. Basically means when you're come to this place, thither, over there, to the city. Welcome, Nam. Sorry. When thou art come thither to the city, thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with a psaltery, which is a stringed instrument, and a tabret, which is, I believe it's like one of those tambourines, I think we call them modernly, something like that, percussion instrument, and a pipe and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shalt be turned into another man. Okay, this one, this is, I didn't plan to show this, but I will give the, I can't type either. We've looked at this verse many times before, but Ezekiel 36:26. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I'll take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I'll give you a heart of flesh. Only God can do this. Nobody can fix their own heart. Nobody can make themselves new. Only God can make someone a new creature. And this is what the Lord, this is what Samuel relays to Saul by the Spirit of the Lord. The Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with him, and shalt be turned into another man. So God's Spirit goes on to Saul, and then he's made into a new man. And let it be, when these signs are come unto thee, that thou do as occasion serve thee, for God is with thee. And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee and shew thee what thou shalt do. Okay, so this is very important. Samuel tells Saul that he's going to come down to him. He's going to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. Okay, he tells him he's going to do this in the future, and he tells him, 7 days shalt thou tarry. You will wait for 7 days. All right, we'll see in a moment here why this is important. But he commands him. He tells him, I'm going to come and I'm going to sacrifice animals, but you need to wait for 7 days until I come to you, and then he will shew thee what thou shalt do. And it was so that when Saul had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart. Right? Only God has the capacity to make somebody new. And all those signs came to pass that day. And when they came thither to the hill, over there, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, just like the prophet prophesied, which I'll make the side note, Deuteronomy 22:18. I think it's probably 18:22. I always get this one mixed up. Yep, it is. It says, when a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken, but the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. And I was thinking about this the other day. The way the Lord works is always like this. Oh, I cannot type at all. Oh my goodness. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. This is something you see all throughout the Bible. You can look at this it was originally given for the law, Deuteronomy 19:15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. So this is basically protection. Back in the law of Moses, there are certain crimes that if you committed, you would be killed. So this stops somebody from just, looking at somebody that they hated and saying, yep, I saw him, and then that person just getting killed, right? You have to have 2 or 3 witnesses or more to establish a cause. And this is how God has always worked. He never sends just one person to establish a matter. He always has a testimony, either more people to testify to what that person is saying, or signs and wonders or something like this. Like, for example, in the passage I showed you, to determine a prophet, their testimony that will verify what they're saying, that they're from the Lord, they will be able to prophesy and speak, and things will happen in the future, right? Whenever somebody comes and says something, like, for example, with the law, I saw this guy do this. You need more than one person. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. So anytime, this is what we see with these aberrant groups. I've been dealing with a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses recently, or Catholics or anything like this. You will notice these groups always have one person at the top, and then nobody could ever challenge them whatsoever. They don't have anything to back up that what they're saying is from God. Right? Someone claims to be a prophet, they better be able to prophesy into the future. If they can't do that, then I don't want to hear nothing about it. Or if you're the Pope, I better hear some sort of testimony to back up what you're saying from other people, or things like this. The Lord has always made it that 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established. And even Jesus, he said, if I testify myself, he said something like, let me look at that. I testify of myself. This one's interesting. This one proves how Jesus really is, or who he is. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. There is another that beareth witness of me, and I know that the witness which he witnesses to me is true. Right? So Jesus came, and he bare witness of the Father, and the Father bore witness of Jesus. So even when Jesus came, he was doing all these things, right? But even then, he was not by himself. The Father was bearing witness. So it shows you this very strong principle in the Bible, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every cause be established. And the same thing goes with doctrine too. With John the Baptist also be witness. Ye sent unto John, and he bare witness unto the truth. Yeah, so John was sent by obviously the Father, but he was in the wilderness. I think it was Gabriel that came to his mother when he was a child. That would be John. Whatever, another time. Basically, an angel came, and then John was set aside. He had the Holy Ghost from the womb. And yeah, he was sent to witness unto the truth. Yeah, so John was certainly he was the voice of the one that crieth in the wilderness. That's prophesied. And I think that's like in the very first chapters of every gospel. I think it's in all of them, talking about John the Baptist. But yeah, so in the mouth of two or three witnesses shall every cause be established. And then we see here Samuel, remember, he commands him to wait 7 days, and then Samuel will come to that place. So then it was so that when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those signs came to pass that day. So this is how we know that Samuel, for example, is a prophet, because he said all these things and then they happened. Right? When they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. And it came to pass, when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets. Then the people said one to another, what is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? So I guess I'll show this too. Am I not mistaken? So a little bit of backstory. If you read the book of Judges, the tribe of Benjamin was completely wiped out. There was only, I believe, 300 people left in the whole entire tribe because, well, I'll show you this also. Judges 25, 21, is it? Yeah, here we go. This is the theme in the book of Judges. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And if you read and study the book of Judges, you're going to see that they all did what they thought was right. There was all sorts of crazy stuff that they did, and what it ended up culminating to, leading to, in the end of the book of Judges, they were literally fighting each other. So they're not banding together to fight the enemy. All of the tribes of Israel banded together to fight the tribe of Benjamin, which is another tribe of Israel, and they almost completely wiped them out. So Saul, it's interesting how the Lord works. This happens right after that. So Saul is chosen as king, right? And then this is Saul's response. He said, am not I a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel? Literally, because they just got wiped out. And my family, the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin, wherefore then speakest thou so to me? And this is when Samuel came and he said, you're going to be king, Saul. And some people say this is a mark of his humility. I'll just leave it at that. Some scholars say that Saul was very, very humble before he became the king. And I'll show you some more instances which may point to that. But he was from the tribe of Benjamin, which was the smallest tribe. And this proverb is very interesting when I looked into this. It says, then the people said one to another, what is this that has come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? So I found a couple of varying ideas of what scholars think this means. One of them is when someone becomes religious or something, right? Like someone, they're living a totally sinful life, and then they find Christ, and then they completely turn around, right? Saul was, how do I put this? He was a very low and mean estate. He was very, I don't know if I could say unassuming, but he was definitely not king material, right? So then Saul becomes anointed as king. People learn he's king. They say, is Saul also among the prophets? And one of the same place answered and said, but who is their father? Therefore it became a proverb, is Saul among the prophets? So when someone comes from a very low estate, like a low position, and then they become exalted. This was one of the descriptions, like the scholars said this could mean. Whenever someone comes from a very low point and then the Lord exalts them, right? They would use this proverb in their time. Is Saul also among the prophets? Therefore, it became a proverb, as Saul also among the prophets. And the other interpretation, well, actually, I kind of just mixed them both. So one of them said, when someone becomes they become religious, their life before completely switches. That could be a possible interpretation of what the proverb means. Or if someone comes from a very low state and then is exalted as a king, for example. Those were two, when I was studying this proverb, those are two possible interpretations. But nevertheless, it became a popular proverb in their day, whichever interpretation is correct of that. Is Saul also among the prophets? And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place. And Saul's uncle said unto him and to his servant, Whither went ye? Where did you go? Whither? Where did you come from? Where went ye? And he said, to seek the asses, the donkeys. And when we saw that there were nowhere, we came to Samuel. And Saul's uncle said, Tell me, I pray thee, what Samuel said unto you. Everybody knew Samuel was a prophet, right? So this is kind of like, yeah, we were looking for the asses, the donkeys. We didn't know where to go, so we went to Samuel to try to ask him to prophesy, to tell us where he was. And then his uncle was like, oh, you spoke to the prophet? Tell me what he told you, right? And obviously we know that he just told them that, Saul, you're going to be king. Imagine like just being a lowly farmer, and this is a really crazy event. Like you go to try to find the lost animals, and then someone just says, you're going to be king. Excuse me? Okay. So that's basically what Samuel told Saul. And then Saul's uncle says, tell me everything he told you. And Saul said unto his uncle, he told us plainly that the asses were found, but of the matter of the kingdom whereof Samuel spake, he told him not. So this is very interesting. Does this mean that Saul was humble? He literally just got told he was about to be king, and he didn't even tell his uncle. Like, I feel like a lot of people might be like, oh, you'll never believe this, and then tell him everything. But he didn't even mention anything about him becoming king. It's very interesting. And Samuel called the people together unto the Lord to Mizpah, and said unto the children of Israel, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought up Israel out of Egypt, and delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all kingdoms, and of them that oppressed you. And ye have this day rejected your God, who himself, right? It wasn't Moses, it wasn't Aaron that brought them out of Egypt. It was the Lord. The Lord used them to do that, but the Lord himself saved you out of all your adversities and your tribulations, and ye have said unto him, Nay, but set a king over us. So they ignored the Lord when he told them, Ye have rejected this day your God. The Lord told them not to put a king over them. They rejected him. Nay, but set a king over us. Now therefore present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your thousands. And when Samuel had caused all the tribes of Israel to come near, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. Okay, so when taking lots is a very interesting thing in the Bible. The Lord casts. They would basically, my understanding is they would get sticks. So Proverbs 16:33 says, the lot is cast into the lap, but the whole disposing of thereof is the Lord. So they would all get, my understanding is there's sticks, and then they would all draw, each person would take one, right? Or in this case, one tribe maybe would take one. So you'd have 12 sticks, and then depending on how they decided to judge, whether the stick was the biggest or the smallest, I don't know the exact details, but the Lord would actually determine. So they would draw lots, they would choose something. Maybe it'd be the equivalent of like, if I ask Siri to like tell me a random number, and the Lord picks that number, right? If that makes sense, something like that. Basically, it was supposed to be all random, but the Lord chose what was going to happen. So they took lots. Present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and your thousands. When Samuel had caused all the tribes of Israel to come near, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. So after all the lots were taken, the tribe of Benjamin was selected. And when he had caused the tribe of Benjamin to come near by their families, the family of Matri was taken, and Saul the son of Kish was taken. So they cast lots again, and then all the tribes of Benjamin were split up even more. And then it came down to the family of Matri and Saul the son of Kish. So basically, it's very interesting because Samuel anointed Saul. This happened before this. And then they all came, all of Israel came. The tribe of Benjamin was selected, and then Saul was selected. So the Lord he obviously picked, like out of all the people there, he picked Saul, and then the lot fell on Saul. And you'll see this a lot in the Bible. Lots are cast or taken to see who's the cause of something, or to pick somebody or something like this. But Saul, the son of Kish, was taken. So that means he drew the lot and he was selected to be the king. But where is he? And when they sought him, he could not be found. He was not there. Therefore they inquired of the Lord further if the man should yet come thither. And the Lord answered, behold, he hath hid himself among the stuff. So is this another sign of Saul's humility? He knows he's about to be selected king, and he's out here hiding out, like, I'm not worthy of this. Or maybe he's afraid. I don't know. It's interesting. But they asked the Lord where he's at, and he's hiding by the stuff, and they ran and fetched him thence. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from his shoulders and upward. So he was the tallest person in Israel. I don't know how tall this was, but from his shoulders and upward, he was taller than anybody. I don't know if I could say height is befitting for, I guess height is kind of befitting for a king, but he was definitely a tall one. And Samuel said to all the people, see him whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people. And all the people shouted and said, God save the king. Then Samuel told the people the manner of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. And Saul also went home to Gibeah, which was his, people suppose that was where he was born. It doesn't say explicitly, but he makes this like the headquarters of his kingdom. It says he goes home here. So most people say Saul of Gibeah. Saul's from Gibeah. Saul went home to Gibeah, and there went with him a band of men whose hearts God had touched. But the children of Belial said, how shall this man save us? And they despised him and brought no presents. But Saul, he held his peace. All right, so this is 1 Samuel 10. This is the beginning of the events of how Saul became anointed and became the king. In the next chapter, we see things start to progress a little bit. Hello, my friends. I made a mistake. Jabesh Gilead and Gibeah are two different places. So Nahash attacked Jabesh Gilead. I believe in the video I said they're the same thing, but I'll show you that they're different things. They're different cities. So Gibeah is where the concubine was raped and killed. And Gibeah is where, when the rest of Israel received their cut up piece of the concubine, Gibeah is where they all gathered together and attacked. They gathered against the city. So they attacked Gibeah. They completely destroyed it. There was only 600 people left of the Benjamites, and the Benjamites are one tribe of Israel. So they didn't want to kill off one of their own tribe's people. So there's 600 people left, and they said, why has this come to pass in Israel? So this is what happens when, in those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. When people do what's right in their own eyes, when they don't follow the Lord, things like this happen. They cut people up, and then they kill each other. All right, so first they try to blame it on the Lord. They say, why is this come to pass in Israel? Oh, Lord, how'd you let this happen? Okay, so they say, why is this come to pass in Israel that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? So they completely destroyed the city, left 600 people left, standing, living, and then they had apparently some sort of sadness for them that they all just slaughtered. We can't kill the tribe. We can't completely wipe them out. So they have a predicament here. They don't want to wipe out one of their brothers, tribes of the brothers. So they have to come up with a plan. But there's two problems with their plan. They made two previous vows. First vow is, who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpah, saying, he shall surely be put to death. So all of Israel called all of Israel to fight here at Gibeah. And they made a vow saying, whoever would not come up and fight with us, we're going to put them all to death. All right, and the second vow they made was, they say, how shall we do for wives to them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wives? So they promised that they would not give any of the Benjamites their daughter to wife. But they have a predicament here, right? They don't want the tribe to be utterly wasted. There's only 600 people left. But they made a vow that they would not give their wives away. So they try to fix these two problems by saying this. And they said, "What one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord?" So then they counted them. They saw that Jabesh Gilead did not show up to the battle. For the people were numbered, and behold, there was none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead. So what did they do? They try to solve both of their problems here. Their vow to say that they're going to kill whoever did not come to battle, and then their vow to say that they're not going to give their wives to Benjamin, who they're trying to save at this point after their destruction of them. So what do? This is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins. So they took 400 virgins out of the city. All of Israel, they went from Gibeah to Jabesh Gilead. So they just destroyed one of their own cities, and now they go to another one of their own cities with their own people, and they kill all of them next. Yeah, Judges is a very messed up book, but they get 400 young virgins. Okay. But there's still a problem, because there's 600 Benjamites. 600 minus 400, that's 200. They're lacking some wives here. Okay, so how are they going to get some wives for the rest of them? Oh, we look down a little bit further. They come up with another terrible plan. There is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh yearly. Okay, they say, "Go lie in wait in the vineyards, and see and behold. If the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances, then ye come out of the vineyards and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin." Okay, so let me make this point here. There are a lot of things in the Bible that happened. That doesn't mean they're a good indicator of what we should do, right? David committed adultery and murder. That doesn't mean we should follow his footsteps. The Bible is a great history book, a great historical document. And a lot of times people say things in the Bible, and it's true that they said them, but what they said is not true. So if you're reading through the book of Judges and you're like, what is this? It's just the Bible historically and accurately depicting the depravity and wickedness of these people. So they need 200 more wives, so they go against another one of their own cities. Like, this is ridiculous. There's a feast yearly at Shiloh, and they said, "Go hide and wait, look for the daughters of Shiloh. If they start dancing, go and kidnap them, go and catch them." Okay, so they did that. But here's the thing: when it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, okay, "Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war." So they made this vow, saying they're not going to give their wives, they're not going to give wives to children. They're not going to give their daughters as wives to anybody from the tribe of Benjamin. And now here they go again, trying to shift the blame. When their fathers come to complain, rightfully so, that their daughters were literally just kidnapped, when they come to complain, they say, "We will say unto them, Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war. It was our fault. For ye did not give unto them at this time that ye should be guilty." So they think of a genius way to get past this vow. We won't directly give our wives. We won't directly give our daughters to be their wives. But if somebody forcefully takes them, technically, it's not us giving them, right? If someone forcefully takes them, we're not breaking our vow because we didn't give them, right? So this is their logic. This is what happens when, again, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. When people do what is right in their own eyes, their logic, their thinking, their reasoning becomes completely stupid. So the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to their number, of them that danced whom they caught. So they got 200 wives that were dancing. They kidnapped them, and they thought, this isn't a bad idea. Okay, so let me make this distinction here. Jabesh Gilead and Gibeah are two different places. Okay, again, I think in the video I said they're the same thing. Nahash the Ammonite attacked Jabesh Gilead, and the reason I definitely mentioned in the video, why would Jabesh Gilead give them time to try to ask for help? It's because Jabesh Gilead did not believe that anyone would come help them. He knows that Israel's own people just attacked their own city. So he does not believe that they're going to come and help them after they just attacked them, right? So I just want to clear that up. Jabesh Gilead and Gibeah are two separate places. Bye. So then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said unto Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we will serve thee. Now, this is very interesting right here. We might go a little bit long today, but I'm going to explain everything. So in the book of Judges, basically what happened was this man, he had a concubine, and he went into this town of Jabesh Gilead, and this whole town pulled a Sodom and Gomorrah on this man and his concubine. So he was a visitor into this town of Jabesh Gilead, and he stayed with this other man. And then the town at night came around. He said they were trying to break his door down. Said let him, bring him out here so we can go in unto him. Basically, rape him, Sodom and Gomorrah type of thing. And then he said, no, take my concubine instead. So he gave him the concubine. They raped her to death. And then in the morning, she was just dead on the floor. And this man, Judges is really messed up. He cut her up into 12 pieces. He cut this concubine, this woman, which is basically like it's not a wife. It's like how do I put it? They would like technically marry them, but they don't have any rights of a wife, whatever. They're basically like a sex person, a concubine. They're not equivalent to a wife, but they're technically married, so they could, do things without adultery. It's messed up. The Lord, I believe the Bible clearly teaches that one man, one woman, that's the way the Lord designed it. And then all these people who had hundreds and hundreds of wives and all these things, they always had very big troubles. Okay, so anyways, the concubine was killed. She was raped to death. And this man, he cut her up into 12 pieces and sent them out to all Israel. And this happened in Jabesh Gilead, right? So all Israel is furious. How could this happen? So then they all surround Jabesh Gilead and they say, send us those people out. Let those people come out to us so we can kill them that did this wicked thing. And another crazy part, the whole city refused to send them out. Like they knew, I don't know how they didn't know this was completely wicked, but they refused to send them out. These wicked people that did this crime, and then they defended them and they fought for them. So Israel said, send them out or we're going to destroy your city. And they refused to send them out, and then they defended them. So then they had a war, Israel versus Benjamin and Jabesh Gilead. And obviously Benjamin lost, Jabesh Gilead lost. And that happened kind of a little bit before this. So now a different king, Nahash the Ammonite, I'm sure he heard about this whole matter. All of Israel attacked their own tribe and pretty much utterly destroyed them. So this Jabesh Gilead is completely weak. They probably don't have any type of army whatsoever. They're probably extremely low on people. So Nahash the Ammonite comes and he attacks them, or he threatens to attack them. And says he came up, Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said unto Nahash, make a covenant with us and we will serve thee. And Nahash the Ammonite answered them, on this condition will I make a covenant with you, that I may thrust out all your right eyes and lay it for reproach upon Israel. It's pretty bold request. Like the only reason, or the only way I'll spare you is if you let me gouge out all of your right eyes. And okay, I'll continue. The elders of Jabesh said unto him, give us 7 days respite, that we may send messengers unto all the coasts of Israel. And then if there be no man to save us, we will come out to thee. Now, this is also very interesting as well. This whole book is just very interesting. What kind of military leader would grant this request? Like you're about to conquer a city, and then they say, wait. Give us 7 days to ask people for help. What kind of military leaders can be like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm just gonna let you ask people to come bring back up. Nobody's gonna do that. But this guy, the elders of Jabesh said unto him, give us 7 days respite, give us 7 days rest or time between, that we may send messengers unto all the coasts of Israel, and then if there be no man to save us, we will come out to thee. So basically, we will accept your terms, we will have our eyes gouged out, and yeah, we'll serve you. Then came the messenger. So basically, he agreed. He said, okay, I'll give you 7 days. The only logical explanation for this is he believed that nobody was going to help him. And if you think about it, this king, Nahash, he heard about all of Israel attacking their own city and their own people. And then when they ask him, let us ask for help from the people that just destroyed us. He's thinking they're probably going to come and help me, you know. So he grants them the respite. He says, okay, go ahead, ask as many people as you want to help you. I don't believe they're going to help you at all. I'll give you 7 days. So, but he didn't know this. Nahash the Ammonite did not know that immediately at this time, Israel just elected a king. And not only that, they elected a king from the same tribe. Jabesh Gilead was a Benjamite town, and Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin, right? So all these little events are culminating into something interesting that Nahash has no idea what's happening. So then came the messengers to Gibeah of Saul and told the tidings in the ears of the people, and all the people lifted up their voices and wept. So they were afraid. I suppose that they expected this army. They're not going to stop at just Jabesh Gilead, right? Like they're going to take this place. They're going to take Jabesh Gilead, and then they're going to proceed further on into Israel and take more towns. So they're afraid, and they're crying out and weeping. And here's another interesting thing about Saul. I don't know if this is a measure of his humility or what, but and behold, Saul came after the herd out of the field. So Saul's the king now, and he's working in the field with the herd. So something to think about. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, maybe some kings do that. Who knows? And Saul said, or he came out after the herd out of the field, and Saul said, "What aileth the people that they weep?" And they told him the tidings of the men of Jabesh. So they're about to get attacked. And the Spirit of God came upon Saul when he heard those tidings, and his anger was kindled greatly. And he took a yoke of oxen and hewed them in pieces and sent them throughout all the coast of Israel by the hands of messengers, saying, "Whosoever cometh not forth after Saul and after Samuel, so shall it be done unto his oxen." And the fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. Okay, let me show you in the Judges real quick. They're just cut up. So Saul did the exact same thing that just happened in Judges 19, is what it is. The exact same thing that just happened. So everybody in all of Israel is familiar with this. So there is, I won't read this whole thing, but there was a certain Levite sojourning who took him a concubine. And then, long story short, they came into the town of Jabesh Gilead. Here we go. Thither to go and lodge Gibeah. Okay, so an old man came to help him. And then the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him." Okay, so they're trying to beat down the door to basically rape him. "Do not so wickedly, seeing that this man has come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine." So they offer their own. This man offers his own daughter, which is wicked. This is not justifiable whatsoever. And then his concubine. And then came the woman in the dawning of the morning and fell down at the door of the man's house where her lord was till it was light. I guess I'll add this too. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Okay, and then she died. Here we go. "And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces. This is messed up. Okay, he cut her into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coast of Israel. So Saul does this exact same thing, but it's not a person at least, but with oxen. He took a yoke of oxen and hewed them in pieces and sent them throughout all the coast of Israel. So this event was fresh on their mind, right? It's very interesting. But he says, by the hands of his messengers, saying, "Whosoever cometh not forth after Saul and after Samuel to the war, so shall it be done unto his oxen." And oxen were people's livelihood. They tilled their grounds. They could use them for food, do all sorts of things. If you cut up somebody's oxen, you're destroying their livelihood. So the fear of the Lord fell on all the people, and they came out with one consent. So everybody came to this war. And I'll tell you what, Nahash the Ammonite was not expecting all of Israel to pull up on them. All right. So when Saul numbered them in Bezek, the children of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. So 330,000 people come out here to fight. And they said unto the messengers that came, thus shall you say unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, tomorrow, by that time the sun be hot, ye shall have help. And the messengers came and shewed to the men of Jabesh, and they were glad. So help is on the way. Therefore the men of Jabesh said to, what's his name? Nahash, tomorrow we will come out unto you, and ye shall do with us all that seemeth good unto you. So this king, he's expecting no help came whatsoever. They're surrendering here. Tomorrow we're going to come out, and then you could, gouge your eyes out and all this. So Nahash is like, yep, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I'll see you tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and it was so on the morrow that Saul put the people in 3 companies. So they had 330,000 in total. So 110,000 people. That's a lot of people in one company, but he had 3 of them. And they came into the midst of the host in the morning watch and slew the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And it came to pass that they which remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together. And the people said unto Samuel, who is he that said, shall Saul reign over us? Okay, remember at the end here, these people said, how shall this man save us? Children of Belial, how shall this man save us? And they despised him and brought no presents, but Saul held his peace. And the people said to Samuel, who is he that said, shall Saul reign over us? Bring the men that we may put them to death. So these people that were talking trash, talking junk on us, Saul, they wanted to kill him because Saul just proved himself. He just saved the city. He proved himself to be a worthy king. And then Saul said this, there shall not a man be put to death this day, for today the Lord hath wrought salvation in Israel. It's another very humbling sign to me that he's refusing to kill these people that even he cursed them or did not respect them as a king. Then said Samuel to the people, come and let us go to Gilgal and renew the kingdom there. And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. And there they sacrificed sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord. And there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. So in 1 Samuel 10, we see Saul becoming anointed and becoming the king. We see Saul's first victory in the very next chapter. I'm going to skip chapter 12, but we'll go to chapter 13. He doesn't really do anything bad in chapter 12, but this is where it falls apart in chapter 13. Chapter 12 is literally just Samuel talking. So Samuel's getting old, and then Samuel goes before all the people, and he says, he basically justifies himself. He says, if I have ever stolen anything from anybody or given a false prophecy or anything like this, come forward and then I will repay you. And Samuel's just talking throughout all of chapter 12. And basically, Samuel's innocent. He's a good prophet, or a solid prophet. Okay, so chapter 13 of 1 Samuel, we see the beginning of the end for Saul. So the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel. 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash, Michmash, eastward from Bethaven. So this is a very scary situation. They have 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. Let me show you what Israel had. Okay. Wait, hold on, it's down here. Here we go. There was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. And this is just a little bit down. This is chapter 13 and 19. Chapter 13, verse 19. But now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share and his coulter and his axe and his mattock. These are basically farming tools. Okay, they don't have swords or spears. Yet they had a file for the mattocks and for the coulters and for the forks and for the axes and to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and with Jonathan, his son, there was found. Okay, so they got this army, and they're against 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And what do the Jews have? They got two swords. So chariots back in the day, I don't know if this is like exactly the equivalent comparison, but I heard one pastor say, he said, this is like fighting against 30,000 tanks and you don't even have a rifle. These guys are in trouble. They just had two swords. But okay, so the Philistines gathered to fight against Israel. And when the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, they were in trouble, they were in dire distress. Oh, there you go. For the people were distressed. Then the people did hide themselves in caves and in thickets and in rocks and in high places and in pits. So the army of Israel saw all these people coming towards them, and they ran away. There's only a few that stayed with Saul. Some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. So they knew they were about to be in trouble. And he tarried 7 days. Okay, let me go back to this real quick. So Samuel, remember, he said, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee. You have to wait for me 7 days and I'll come to you. And here we go. Saul, he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. Okay. And Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. Okay, so first of all, the only people who were allowed to offer burnt offerings or sacrifices were priests. This is made very clear in the law of Moses and the Levitical priesthood laws. Nobody is allowed to offer sacrifices unless you're properly equipped to do so. And here's the first discretion, right? Saul, he did it himself. So Samuel told him to wait for 7 days, the time appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. So he told him to wait 7 days, right? He waited 7 days, but it wasn't the whole day yet. And so he decides to offer the burnt offering and the peace offering, and he did it himself. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. How many times have we done something that we knew we were supposed to wait? The Lord, he wanted us to wait on him, but we chose to force it. And then immediately after, the Lord would have brought us what we were waiting for. If we would have just waited 10 minutes, the Lord would have brought us what we were waiting for. And you see this very clearly here. It came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came. Literally, as soon as he finished doing what he was not supposed to do, Samuel came, like he said he would. And Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me. Okay, so this is where it starts to get bad for Saul here. And this is, as a leader, you're absolutely not supposed to do this. So Samuel asked him, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me. First thing he does, he blames the people. Okay. And that thou camest not within the days appointed. Second thing he does, he blames the prophets. He says, it's not my fault I did this. It's the people's fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault, Samuel. You were here in time. Okay. And that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Do you not see this problem in front of me? It's not my fault I did this. Look what's happening. All right. So he blames other people, he blames the prophet himself, and then he blames the problem that's in front of him. Therefore said I, Saul says, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. So Saul makes a whole bunch of excuses here. A whole bunch of excuses. And if you're ever in a leadership position, here's the thing about being a leader. You take credit when something goes horribly wrong. And you give the credit away when things go horribly right. Maybe not horribly is the best term, but whenever things go very well, you don't take the credit at all. You don't say, this was my doing. You always, always, always give it to your followers as a leader. And the double-edged sword is, when your followers do something horribly wrong, you take the credit for that. You say, yep, I'm over them. It's my fault. I should have done better. The moment a leader starts pointing fingers at his followers, that's probably the quickest way to lose respect from the person you're talking to about this. Like if say a leader is talking to his boss and then the leader tries to blame the people under him, that's very bad. Okay. Not only that, but the followers under the leader, if they get blamed, they're not going to like the leader anymore. They're not going to respect him. They're not going to have motivation to serve him and all this. So I'll say it again. If you're in a leadership position, you give the credit away when things go right, and then you take the credit when things go wrong. That is a very, very solid leadership principle to stand by. And we see here that Saul did not do any of that. He pointed the finger 4 times. He said, "The people, your fault. Look at the problem in front of me. I had to be holy. I had to sacrifice." Oh, 1 second. Oh, excuse me. Saul did not accept any responsibility at all for his action. And this is where it starts to go downhill. Samuel said to Saul, "Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart." We all probably know who that is. David is a man after the Lord's own heart, which David succeeds Saul, I think that's the proper term. "And the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. And Samuel arose and gat him up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people that were with him, about 600 men." Okay, let's look at this one more time. 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. That's who Saul's facing. That's the Philistine army. Saul's got 600 men, and he's got 2 swords. Looks like a dire strait indeed. A dire strait indeed. So the next, well, not the next chapter, but I showed you this. This is a little bit lower down in the chapter. It just describes that they have no swords, except for Saul and Jonathan, his son. So now the next chapter, 1 Samuel 14. This is, I'm compiling stories like this. This story right here is one of the unsung heroes of the Bible, and you'll see this story when I learned about this, it was amazing. Well, let me see what y'all think. "Now it came to pass upon a day that Jonathan the son of Saul said unto the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over to the Philistines' garrison, that is on the other side. But he told not his father. And Saul tarried in the uttermost part." So to tarry in the King James, it just means to wait. It just means to wait. "So Saul tarried in the uttermost parts of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree, which is in Migron. And the people that were with him were about 600 men. And Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother," they have some crazy names out here, "the son of Phinehas, yeah, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. And the people knew not that Jonathan was gone. So Jonathan and his armor bearer snuck away. They said, Let us go to the Philistines' garrison, where their, where their weapons are, where their people are. It's like their fortress. Fortress isn't like the best term, but it's just like where they're gathered. It's their garrison. It's the military outpost, I guess. And the people knew not that Jonathan was gone. And between the passages by which Jonathan sought to go over unto the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side and a sharp rock on the other side. And the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other, Senna. Yeah, I'm not going to. Senna. The forefront of the one was situate northward over against Michmash, Michmash was where the Philistines were encamped. And the other southward over against Gibeah, which I think this is where, I was supposed to Gibeah. Yeah, this is where the Jews were camped in Gibeah. And Jonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, Come, let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us. For there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. Amen to that. The Lord doesn't need a huge army to save. He can do it by himself. Right? And this is amazing right here. His armor bearer said unto him, do all that is in thine heart. Turn thee, behold, I am with thee according to thy heart. So we have two people looking at a Philistine garrison. And then Jonathan says, it's just you and me. Let's go get him. And then his armor bearer, he's not afraid. He says, you know what? Let's go. I am with thee according to all thy heart. I bet you probably never heard of Jonathan's armor bearer before. This is some courage right here. Just two of these people. They want to go attack this garrison by themselves. So then said Jonathan, behold, we will pass over unto these men, and we will discover ourselves unto them. We will show ourselves to them, basically. If they say thus unto us, if they say this to us, tarry until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place, and we will not go up unto them. But if they say thus, come up unto us, then we will go up, for the Lord hath delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us. So if these people, if they go to the Philistines and show themselves to them, and then they say this, come up unto us, and we will come up unto us, it's a sign that we will win this battle. The Lord has given them to us. So both of them discovered themselves unto the garrison of the Philistines, and the Philistines said, behold, the Hebrews come forth out of the holes where they had hid themselves. And the men of the garrison answered Jonathan and his armor bearer and said, come up unto us, and we will show you a thing. So basically, my understanding of this is, you Hebrews, come up here, let me show you a thing or two. Come up unto us, and we will show you a thing. And Jonathan said unto his armor bearer, come up after me, for the Lord hath delivered them into the hand of Israel. Jonathan climbed up upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer slew after him. So these two people started murking everybody. They started dropping these Philistines left and right, and whoever Jonathan didn't get, his armor bearer slew after him. After that first slaughter, which Jonathan and his armor bearer made, was about 20 men. So 2 versus 20. It's pretty bad odds, but they got them all. Within, as it were, an half acre of land which a yoke of oxen might plow. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people, the garrison and the spoilers. They also trembled, and the earth quaked, so it was a very great trembling. And the watchmen of Saul and Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away, and they went on beating down one another. So this was the beginning of this battle. They had 30,000 chariots. Where was it? 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand, which is on the seashore in multitude. Jonathan, which when you actually study this text, Jonathan was actually the one who started this war. Let me show you. Jonathan was the one who started this war, and he's the one who continued in it, and he actually pretty much won it for them. So Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard that Saul had smitten a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also had an abomination with the Philistines. Okay, this is the point I want to make. I can't say this dogmatically, because I don't know if, I don't know the exact situation, but so we see that Jonathan smote the garrison, right? And then it says, all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten the garrison. Okay, I'm not going to say that Saul took credit, but just theoretically, if Saul did take credit, and if Saul said, I smote this garrison, and then he told everybody, that would be a bad leadership quality, right? Remember, if you're a leader, you want to give credit to others and take credit, or give credit to others for the good things, take credit for the bad things. So like I said, I'm not saying that, maybe this is just the way the text is written. I'm not saying that Saul took credit for what Jonathan did, but theoretically, if he did, that would be a bad thing. Right, okay. So Jonathan smote the garrison. He's the one who started this war. The Philistines heard of it, and then they gathered together, and then started to march against Israel. Jonathan started the war, and then Jonathan started the finish of the war. So he went with his armor bearer. He smote this garrison, and then the multitude began to melt away. So the Lord sent a trembling. He sent an earthquake and a very great trembling. So basically what started happening was, I'll show you. I'll just show you. I don't want to read it all. It's going to take too long, but basically the earthquake started happening. The people started like running out of their tents. The whole earth was shaking. There was like screaming and fighting. So people took out their own swords and they started fighting each other in their army. And this happened with Gideon. This happened with it's happened a few times in the Bible. Whenever there's like a huge multitude, the Lord would send like earthquakes or storms or something, and then put fear, because the Lord can do that. The Lord can put fear in people's hearts. And if the Lord puts fear in this whole army's heart, sends an earthquake and all this stuff, they start fighting each other and killing each other. And that's basically what's happening here. They're beating down one another. There's a huge earthquake, a great trembling. They're beating down one another. They're all melting away. So Saul sees all this happen, and I'm not going to read this all. Basically, Saul sees that their army, the Philistine army, is starting to kill each other. So Saul, instead of saying attack, he sends for the Ark of the Covenant. The first thing he does actually is he counts everybody there. Like you see them fight each other, so he says, why don't we just count everybody and see who's missing, right? So that's the first thing he did. And then they counted everybody. They saw Jonathan and his armor bearer were not there. So then the second thing Saul does, he says, bring the Ark over here. We need to ask the Lord what we want to do. So they bring the Ark, they bring the priest, and then eventually Saul just says, where is it? Attack! Assemble ourselves and attack, go to battle. Behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there's a great discomfiture, very great discomfiture. So Saul, he counts everybody, he says, we gotta ask the Lord what to do. Then eventually he just says, whatever, go, attack. So the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over Beth-aven. So Jonathan started the war. He basically ended the war, and the Lord did it. But the Lord used Jonathan's courage and his what's the word? Valiantness. I don't know. To attack a whole garrison with just two people. It's definitely courageous. And the Lord, he really proved that there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. Now, I want to point this out. This is honestly also very cool, interesting. So this part of Israel, we have the sharp rock on the one side and a sharp rock on the other side. The name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other was Seneh. The forefront of the one was situate northward over against Michmash, and the other southward over against Gibeah. So it just so happens that there was a battle in World War I where they were at this exact place. Okay. And it just so happens that there was a military, I don't know if the general, I forgot what rank he was, but somebody in the army knew what the Bible said about this certain place. And then I'll just show you. This is really cool. So history repeats itself. Fast forward to General Allenby's troops in 1918, toward the end of the First World War. The British planned an attack in an area known as Michmash. The Turks were entrenched in the same valley that the Philistines had been 3,000 years earlier. One of the British majors, Vivian Gilbert, that's a pretty nice name, Vivian Gilbert, thought the name Michmash sounded familiar. Searching passages in one of the recently purchased Bibles, he found it and reported it to his commanding officer. An excerpt from the historical account in The Romance of the Last Crusade, pages 185 through 6, tells us. And the major read on how Jonathan went through the pass or passage of Michmash between Bozez and Seneh and climbed the hill dragging his armor bearer with him until they came to a place high up, about a half acre of land which a yoke of oxen might plow. And the Philistines who were sleeping awoke, thought they were surrounded by the armies of Saul and fled in disorder, and the multitudes melted away. Okay, so they kind of relay the story kind of incorrectly. They weren't asleep. I'm going to give credit to Jonathan and his armor bearer here. They didn't kill them when they were asleep. They were awake and they knew they were there, and they still destroyed them all. But anyways, then the earthquake started. The multitudes melted away. Saul then attacked with his whole army. It was a great victory against the Philistines. So the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over into Beth-aven. So the brigade major thought to himself, this pass, these rocky headlands and flat piece of ground are probably still here. Very little has changed in Palestine throughout the centuries. And he awoke the brigadier. Together they read the story over again. Then the general sent out scouts who came back and reported finding the pass, thinly held by the Turks, with rocky crags on either side. Obviously Bozez and Seneh. Obviously. Whilst in the distance, high up in Michmash, the moonlight was shining on a flat piece of ground just big enough for a team to plow. The general decided then, and there to change the plan of attack. And instead of the whole brigade, one infantry company alone advanced at dead of night along the pass of Michmash. A few Turks were silently dealt with. We passed between Bozez and Senna, climbed the hillside, and just before dawn, found ourselves on the flat piece of ground. The Turks who were sleeping awoke, thought they were surrounded by armies of Allenby, and fled in disorder. We killed or captured every Turk that night in Michmash, so that after thousands of years, the tactics of Saul and Jonathan were repeated with success by a British force. Yeah, when I heard that story, that's amazing. It just goes to show you the historical accuracy of the Bible. The very same strategy that Jonathan used, these people, they literally read the Bible. They saw the exact place that it happened, and they went, and they won. Amen. Okay, so we looked at the beginning of Saul's reign. We looked at the beginning of the end of Saul's reign. Now let's take a look at the end of Saul's reign, the thing that really put the nail in the coffin for him. Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. And you can read about this in Exodus. There were people that were nice to Israel when they were leaving, and then there were people that weren't. And Amalek was not one of the nice people. And the Lord remembered that. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For ye shewed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites were nice to him, the Amalekites were not. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites, and Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive. I don't recall that's what Samuel told him to do. And utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep and of the oxen and of the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, it repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me, and hath not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord. Excuse me, buddy? You did what? Samuel said, what meaneth then this bleating of the sheep? You know, the sheep that bleat, they go, bah! And then the lowing of the oxen, which I hear. That I didn't know this until recently, but apparently when a cow goes moo, that's called lowing. And I don't know if you all knew that, but I learned that. So he tells them, utterly destroy all that they have, spare them not, slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, oxen, sheep, camel, and ass. Then Saul has the audacity to come by and say, I have performed the commandment of the Lord. And Samuel's like, oh, really? Why do I hear sheep? Why do I hear cows? Right? Saul said, they. What is he? He points again the finger to them. He says, it was not me. It was these people that I am over, that they would listen to me if I told them not to do it. But he blames them anyway. Right? They have brought them from the Amalekites. For the people spare the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God. And the rest we have utterly destroyed. Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, and I will tell thee what the Lord hath said to me this night. And he said unto him, say on. Samuel said, when thou wast little in thine own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? And the Lord anointed thee king over Israel? And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore just means why. Wherefore then didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil and didst evil in the sight of the Lord? So he took the loot, he took the spoil, and disobeyed the Lord, did evil. And Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. Somehow he's still not getting it. I don't understand how he's not understanding this. He's still trying to argue. I did obey him. I did. But the people, he blames them again. The people took the spoil, sheep and oxen, and the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal. And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? This is a very good biblical concept here, or doctrine. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So Saul, he was anointed king. He had a couple of victories. Then he went downhill big time. And I mean, I don't know what happened to him. He was humble at first, seemingly humble at first. And then he just fell. He disobeyed God multiple times. He had a tendency to blame others instead of taking responsibility for himself, which I'll say it one more time, because it's like I studied under Dr. Klein at Troy. He literally taught leadership. As a leader, we take responsibility for the bad, and we give credit for the good. That's just what a leader does. That's how you're going to have your followers love you and want to serve you and be happy to be under you. That's how you're going to have others respect you. Because I promise you, a leader who knows this concept, a leader who knows how to lead, if they see another leader, a different leader, pointing the finger at his followers, I'm not going to say they're going to lose respect for him, but they probably will. Honestly, it's just not good leadership, and good leaders will recognize that. And likewise, if a good leader sees that another leader, a different leader, takes responsibility for the horrible outcome of something that happened, even if it was 100% out of control of this leader, like the followers just were completely belligerent and they did mess it up themselves. A good leader is supposed to take responsibility, and other good leaders will recognize that. So let us learn from Saul here, that to obey the Lord is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. Let us learn how to be a good leader by doing the opposite of what Saul did, taking responsibility and giving credit. And yeah, that is the fall. Wait, what did I say? That is the rise and fall of Saul, something like that. Okay, let's see here. Stop share. Okay, yeah, that's all I got for today.